will call the meeting to order at 7:02. We have 5 members in attendance. So with no members of the public, we'll dispense with public engagement. Minutes we haven't received, so those we will defer to the next meeting. So we will have lots of minutes to do at the next meeting. It hopefully won't turn into hours. Sorry, guys.
I don't think these cameras are working, but
What was that?
I don't think these cameras are working, but
Oh,
it's not a big deal.
they are. I just
Oh.
have to.
I didn't know if it would need to be official. Either way, no big deal.
There we go.
Yes.
Ian, could you please tell me which members? Oh, okay.
Eric.
Present.
So Eric and Joe are present in person. Catherine and Ann are remote.
Great, thank you.
So thank you for letting me know, Joe. We're working the Zoom room. It adds to the fun and complexity all at the same time. But I'm glad that we're able to do this so that those people who are remote can be remote. It's also recorded and people can have the ability to watch these meetings afterwards. And there's a lot of value to that from a public perspective of being able to see how a meeting is run, see how decisions are made. So the main process was zoning recodification. I'd like to delay that, see if we can, if we hear from Attorney Bobrowski, he may be running a few minutes behind. Just to give people some updates, there has been a lot of correspondence that has occurred in the last few days. Member Eric Reed submitted a couple of proposals, one on irregular shape, one on special permit granting authority. Since those occurred outside of a meeting, I sent those directly to Attorney Bobrowski. I can, now that we're at a meeting, I can send those to the other members as well. So I will forward those off to you. There are some notes, particularly for recodifications. It's safe to say inconsistencies that were found. If you have any other brief way of describing what you put in there.
Well, the regular shape was an easy thing to mention, if I may say so. In 190-4.1.6, they had a formula for the regularity, and they did not use the perimeter in the formula. And I think the perimeter should be in the denominator. So instead of R equals 16 times A, it's 16 times A divided by the perimeter squared. That way, if the area is in foot squared, you have the perimeter in feet, and squaring it gives you feet squared. So the dimensions make sense.
So clarification of what the intent is.
Yeah. They just left out the P squared.
Which I think makes a lot of sense. The idea is still not to change the meaning of the bylaw, just to clarify it so that for those who are not in the land use arena, they might be able to understand it if they understand mathematics well.
Yeah.
And then for a special permit granting authority, it was really inconsistencies in how it was referenced in the recodification. Is that an accurate summary?
It sometimes is spelled out with capital letters and a few times without the capital letters. At least it should have the capital letters. And in a lot of cases, why do you spell it, put the 4 words in and just use the acronym? It would be much simpler to read, because when you read it, you have a simple acronym to look at. Otherwise, you got 4 words to look at to see if they're the same. It's just a step easier to read. Thank you.
So thanks for the feedback. Again, forwarded it on, and I expect we will hear more on it and incorporate it as appropriate by Attorney Bobrowski. In addition to that, we received a letter from the ZBA, Zoning Board of Appeals, from the Chair, Tom Lucy, and that, of course, appropriately did praise Member Joe, who sits on both boards and gets to attend meetings. I believe it's 8 or 9 nights a week. Is that about right? Something like that. And so it mentions the amazing amount of work that Joe is doing to improve the town itself. But in addition to that, with some specific recommendations for when we should meet and some potential concerns as well. So I circulated that to the committee and sent a copy to Attorney Bobrowski as well, so that can be addressed. I fully expect we will be able to accommodate the request to have the joint meetings in the winter, which is when we had been discussing to have those as well with both the ZBA and the planning board. So the initial comment that it sounds like there may be a little bit of disagreement over what the division of labor should be as to who should handle which types of permits. And so we will have to really figure that out with the help of both the ZBA and planning board as to what makes the most sense. Because there may be changes, there may not be changes, but that's really a big part of what our group is responsible for, is mediating what makes the most sense for that. In addition to all of that, some prior work was referenced in an email thread that came through from the development office and planning office in town. They were asking about possibly implementing a street renaming bylaw, which happy to report was unanimously adopted in May of 2023. You may remember we worked with planning board on that in fall of 22 and through the spring of 23. And it just had not shown up yet on the E-code system, so the people were not aware that that actually had been adopted. It was accepted by the Attorney General. And so it is hopefully part of the published bylaws in the books, but it's not showing up online. So I did send a reference for that. So our prior work is actually solving problems that were anticipated, and that I think is really good news. The draft that they circulated was based on older information from years ago, and what we can come up with actually, in my opinion, suits the needs of the town much, much better, because it allows for notification and making sure that the tools are not weaponized against people. So that was part of what we built into the piece. There was a question about numbering of street addresses, and there is no current bylaw on the numbers and renumbering streets. That's currently handled through an administrative process that happens between the town administrator's office for public safety and post office, along with property owners when there's a request to have things numbered. And this really is something that will probably come up when they talk about changes for accessory dwelling units. So that's the core behind it. And I expect we will see requests and so forth for that sometime over the next couple of months. So again, just so that everyone's aware, if anyone wants to see the details of these emails, let me know. It is technically public record, happy to send those along. But otherwise, that's been the predominant correspondence that we've had over the last couple of weeks. Again, still waiting for the recodification and so forth that we were expecting from Attorney Bobrowski. I do know that he was on a trip last week and hope that he is doing okay. So I did send him a couple of notes. I have not heard back from him. I sent by both email and text in terms of trying to reach him so to join the meeting, but it looks like he may be unavailable. Anything else from any of the other members? Otherwise, we can call this a short night before we go on to hopefully get rest and then tomorrow watch election returns.
Dan, can you just say again, in May of what year did we adopt the street bylaw, street
May
naming?
of 2023.
Got it. Thank you.
May 15th, 2023. As we're going forward, just to, again, since we're at a meeting, at a future meeting, not going to get into details here, there's been a couple of things that have been shown through the upcoming town meeting and the prior town meeting that we may want to revisit some of the chapters on how town meetings are run and some different administrative components of town meeting to make sure that town meetings remain appropriate, civil, and are focused on town matters. And there are some ways that we may want to revisit that. We've seen some things come up while this committee's convened. Our a bit troubling when I look at the content as it relates to a town meeting and for issues that are not town-based. So just throwing that up. That's something that we're likely to visit in December or January. Otherwise, upcoming meetings. November 18th is town meeting. So for that town meeting, Saturday morning, or actually, our next meeting is November 18th, sorry about that. That's Monday, our next meeting will be Monday, November 18th, 7 p.m. That will be after town meeting. So we'll all be rested. We will probably need a couple of days to recover. Town meetings on Saturday, November 16th at 8 a.m. at the Galvin Middle School. If you are unable to attend for any reason, please send me a note just so that I have it on record, as all members of town appointed boards are required to be there unless they have an excused absence, and that has to be noted, and it gets noted by the chair unless requested otherwise. So November 16th, 8 a.m. And for those who may need any sort of accommodations or whatever, please feel free. If it's physical accommodation, work with the town engineer. He will work with people for physical accommodations. And if there's other accommodations, please let me know. And I'll work with people as appropriate. Only two upcoming holidays and observances. One is tomorrow, Election Day. I hope that everyone is able to get through the day without too much nervousness as to however the results may come in. If you haven't voted, please make sure that you do get out and vote. It is one of the most important things we can do in civic society, and just to be a part of the process. It's how we get our opinions registered. In addition to president and vice president, we have a lot of other constitutional officers. We also have people for the vocational school on the ballot. In addition to that, we have 5 ballot questions. Highly recommend that you research all 5 of them so you can come up with your own opinions on them based upon your priorities. Each of the questions is actually quite significant, in my opinion, as to what it is about and why it is actually being asked directly of the voters. In the Massachusetts ballot initiative that came from Secretary of State, the ballot book, the red book that was mailed to all households, has quite a bit of information. I recommend people also look for other information if you have not voted yet. If you have voted, thank you. It is really important to have the ability to do that, provided you have the capacity to do so. Veterans Day is on November 11th. Very important day to acknowledge those who have served in our armed forces. Always a significant day to remember what used to be known as Armistice Day at the conclusion of what was originally known as the Great War, or more commonly World War I. So Veterans Day is something, if you have a veteran in your household, in your family, please thank them. Their service is incredibly important, because without it, realistically, we wouldn't have the freedoms that we do to even celebrate being in this meeting. So much thanks to all veterans of any service in however it has served. With that, anything from anyone else? Eric.
I looked at the table of contents, and 2 of the lines could be more similar information. Under 190-10 Administration and Procedures, 10.1 just says enforcement. But all that section is about the building inspector, so I would add the word building inspector.
Okay.
And on 10-6, just says special permits, I would put after that the special permit granting authority. That's one of the places where it's defined, but there are other definitions scattered throughout.
And if I can ask if you can put those suggestions in a quick note, we can send those off to Attorney Bobrowski as well.
Thank you.
That'll be helpful. Just the more feedback he's able to get in writing, won't slip through the cracks. Excellent. Good feedback. Anyone else? For those who are online, otherwise we have 1 vote that needs to be taken tonight. It'll need to be taken by roll call in the order in which you are in the room or online and in the screens here. And that will be.
Dan, sorry.
Yes.
I was just curious, are we voting on the minutes?
Yes.
We didn't, I didn't see the minutes actually distributed, so
Oh, I thought the ones for October 21st were online.
Yeah, I emailed them on the night of October 21st, Dan.
Yeah, and then I
Okay.
saw them on the Dropbox too.
Yeah.
okay.
The June 27th ones aren't there. But
No, they are in the netherworld of the cloud or wherever else they go. I cannot find them to save my life. I think I saved them as another document.
Oh, no.
It's never happened to me before. So I've tried to get them. I might have to watch the meeting over and just recreate them.
Which is quite unfortunate. To watch that meeting again.
Which quite sucks, frankly. I'll use that word better than unfortunate. Yes. But the recording is there. So, yeah.
And if you have to do that, let me know and I can take like the second half of the meeting or something, and you can take the first half or something. You shouldn't have to watch that whole meeting. all over
That's so
again.
sweet, Catherine. When I get a moment to breathe, I will probably take you up
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
Thank you for mentioning that, Catherine. I forgot that, yes, those were distributed. So with that, we have a motion on the floor to approve the minutes as distributed for October 21st, 2024. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded, so motion made by Catherine, seconded by Joe. So we're gonna have two votes. Any other discussion? Okay, with that, we will take vote first in the room, then online. So by roll call, Eric,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
I'm affirmative, and
Yes.
Catherine.
Yes.
Okay, so unanimous, we do have those, that is approved. Thank you very much. I will go ahead and put the footer and so forth on that and put those into Dropbox, send them off to the town council. Well, actually it goes to the town administrator and a copy goes to the town clerk. So in case anyone ever wonders what happens to the minutes when they're approved, that's where they go for two different types of record keeping purposes. And we keep a copy in the Dropbox, which will eventually get turned over to the town clerk as well. So that's where the information goes. So those are approved as is for 10/21. So Catherine, while you're on a roll, would you like to make another motion?
I motion to adjourn.
Excellent. So we've got a motion made by Catherine. Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ann. So motion is made and seconded solely on Zoom. Any discussion? So again, we'll go by those first in the room. Eric,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
Ann,
Yes.
Catherine.
Yes.
I vote in the affirmative. So with that, meeting is adjourned at 7:20. This may be our shortest meeting so far, but it's also efficient. With that, again, please vote if you have not already done so, and look forward to seeing everyone in less than 2 weeks at town meeting, bright and early, a week from Saturday, and if otherwise in 2 weeks from today at another meeting for the applicants in Milan as we start to get ready to eat lots of turkey. So thank you, everyone. Much appreciated.
Thank you.